Hello, zoology. I know I sent this out yesterday, but I just recently learned how to put my voice over these, so I'm going to send it out again to you guys with me talking. You guys are more than welcome to take notes off of just the PowerPoint, or you can do it with me talking to you, and you can pause this at any point in time. We're going to start our discussion on Phylum Annelida, the segmented worms. Annelida general characteristics. Annelida means little rings, and these little guys have little rings all over their body. Each little ring is a segment. There's 15,000 species of Annelida. They are a very successful phylum in both water and on land. They include earthworms, sandworms, clamworms, and leeches. And they have a worldwide distribution. They're marine. They live in brackish water, which is where freshwater and saltwater mix. They live in freshwater, and they live in terrestrial. The only place they don't live is in the air. Yet. General body form for these guys. These guys have an elongated worm-like body that's 1 millimeter to 3 meters long. They have this hollow tube within a tube system. We see so many worm-like creatures like in platyhelminthes and nematoda and a little bit in bivalvia and mollusks because it is a very successful body design. It gives you a lot of surface area to volume ratio, allows you to move through your environment. It's a very good body form. Tube within a tube. The advantages to this system is you have room for development of complex organs. It allows for circulation of body fluids so they can circulate oxygen and nutrients and then get rid of wastes inside of this fluid-spilled space. This also provides them a hydrostatic skeleton, which allows them to burrow, a lot like clams. You would fill up their foot with blood. These guys are filled with fluid so that they can dig. Any of the time you have these guys with the mesentery on the inside and outside, we call them coelomates, these actual cavities made by body tissue. Annelid head. Most annelids show some degree of cephalization, this formation of a head. They can have tentacles, palps, and sensory structures on their head. They also have chitinous jaws. Their jaws are very strong, made out of the same thing that like beetle shells are made out of. Their body has very well developed metamerism, which we call this segmentation. This is the most prominent feature of this phyla. We've seen it a little bit in Polyplacophora and Monoplacophora and mollusks, but you're going to see it in this phyla a lot. We're going to see it in arthropods when we talk about them, and then again when we get to vertebrates. Segments in annelids are separated by tissue called septae. This kind of keeps everything together. Each segment has its own muscles and organs. This is why in earthworms, when you cut them apart, they can still live. They have all the necessary parts in each segment. So why is it good? Why was it valuable to be segmented? It offers annelids the ability to grow large. If you're not trying to just grow your body shape, you can grow individual small segments, have a lot more of them. You can grow a lot longer, like centipedes and millipedes. This allows organs and different segments to have different jobs. So, your segments in the front and back might not be in charge of locomotion. They might be charged of eating, digestion. Where the ones in the middle might deal with reproduction. Segmentation in annelids is both external and internal. So for internal examples, you have the nervous system, the excretory system. For external, you could have legs maybe. The terminal segment has an anus. The proximal, the one at the front, has a head. Body wall in annelids. Their epidermis is a single layer of cells, and it secretes a thin, flexible cuticle. Most of them have setae, which are these small chitinous brushes, and they're repeated on each segment. It's like bristleworms. Here's some setae on this guy here. They use their setae to prevent capture. It allows them a little bit of locomotion. Can be used for swimming. Some of them use it for protection or camouflage. Make themselves look a little bit bigger, a little bit more movement. Muscles in Annelida. They have two types of muscle tissue. They have circular muscle, and then they have longitudinal muscle. Having both of these allows them to burrow, allows them to move throughout their environment more controlled. Nematodes only have that longitudinal muscle, and that's why they were like a whip. These guys can actually make a worm-like motion and crawl through things. They use their hydrostatic skeleton for burrowing, just like clams do. They are coelomates. They have mesoderm around their gut and around their epithelium. This forms separations between segments, holds all their blood vessels and their septae in place, and except for leeches, all of Annelida, the coelom is filled with liquid. Movement for annelids. There's 3 general strategies that these guys use for movement. Burrowing. They use peristaltic contractions, a lot like your stomach does, to move food through it. They use the same thing to move themselves through the ground. They first contract their circular muscles, then contract their longitudinal. So they make a little bit more of a gap for themselves and then push themselves through it. They can crawl using their parapodia, like on this guy here. These little offspurts of him are called parapodia. They're like legs is what parapodia means. And then swimming, leeches and polychaetes, and they use parapodia as well. So they can swim, they can crawl, they can burrow. The only thing they can't do is fly. Feeding and digestion. These guys have a complete digestive tract. They have a little bit more advanced digestive tract than we've seen in mollusca. They have a pharynx, a muscular mouth to take in food, usually have jaws made of chitin. They have a crop, which they use to store food. They have a gizzard, which helps them grind up their food. And then they have, at the end of them, the anus in the terminal segment, which eliminates the waste out of the body. Respiration for these guys. They respirate through the body wall in most species. The body wall is richly supplied with capillaries, those tiny blood vessels to absorb and transport oxygen. Some marine species will breathe through their parapodia. That's just giving them more surface area so that they have more area to breathe through. A few species, especially your marine species, will have gills that they will use to pull oxygen out of water. Annelid circulation. The body cavity is filled with coelomic fluid, which helps move food and waste around. They also have a closed circulatory system with several pairs of pumping hearts and several pairs of aortic arches, which keep the blood pressure high, allow the blood to kind of accumulate there before it gets pumped again. Blood for these guys. In cephalopods, our blood was blue because they use copper to bind oxygen to their blood. In annelids, it can be 2 colors. They can use red, hemoglobin, red color, they can use hemoglobin, which is the same chemical we use, which uses iron. Or they can have green blood, which uses chlorocrucin, which uses a compound of iron and chlorine. This guy here is a green-blooded worm. Respiratory / circulatory system doubling up. They use their coelom and blood vessels in a heart to move nutrients and waste and oxygen and everything else. They're really good at it. They're kind of experts at nutrient and gas exchange because they have this double system. This is also why worms can get split in half. They have 2 systems for everything in their body. Nervous system. They have a complex nervous system, both a central nervous system and a peripheral nervous system. They have cerebral ganglia, this paired brain, and they have a ventral nerve cord, which in later phylum, this will turn into a spinal cord. They have fused ganglia, these fused brains in each segment. Each segment can think, can pass on motor responses to the next one. Senses in annelids. They have several organs that give them sweet senses. Ocelli. They're simple single-celled photoreceptors. We've seen these in platyhelminthes. They have some of them eyes, like with a cornea and a lens and a retina. They have statocysts, which they use for balance to know where they are in the soil or water. They have a nuchal organ, which is a ciliated organ on top of their head. They use this for chemoreception, for smell. And then they have tentacles and palps, usually on the head, which are used for tactile feeling where they are, especially as they're traveling through the dirt, see if they're running into anything that's edible. Endocrine system for these guys. They secrete hormones, which regulate their reproduction, their secondary sex characteristics. These is like your voice deepening in men, in adolescent men. That's a secondary sex characteristic. It's also important for regeneration for like earthworms, who, when they get split in half, can regenerate the other half of themselves. Excretory system. They have nephridia, just like our mollusks do, in every single segment. So every single segment has a tiny early kidney. Nephric tubule, this filters waste from the coelom, which is then processed. Once again, it's this doubling up. It's having two excretory system. Through the nephric tubule, wastes are excreted, useful substances are kept, they're filtered out. These nephric tubules also help keep salt and water in balance, making sure that there's not too much water or too much salt inside one of these annelids. Annelid reproduction. These guys reproduce both sexually and asexually. Asexually, they can bud, regenerate, or fragment. And for sexual reproduction, they are monoecious or dioecious, so one sex or two sex. Most are hermaphrodites, so they're dioecious, but they have both parts. And they use the same larval form as a lot of the mollusks did, that trochophore larval form, that segmented larval form.